Dave Neighbor, Kendall County's Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2.
I'm Dave Neighbor. I'm running for re-election, and I'd be honored to continue serving in that office you elected me to 4 years ago.
Dave Neighbor, what does a Justice of the Peace do?
Here in Kendall County, we have 4 JPs. We serve as magistrates in the jail, judges in the courtroom, and coroners at death scenes.
What are your duties as a judge?
In the courtroom, I preside over civil cases like small claims, which are lawsuits of damages of $20,000 or less, and landlord-tenant matters, including evictions, repair issues, and illegal lockouts, all handled fairly and according to the law. I also oversee Class C misdemeanor cases, including traffic citations and other fine-only offenses.
Re-elect Dave Neighbor for Justice of the Peace.
Every case matters, and every person deserves respect, and every decision demands fairness and accountability.
DaveNeighbor.com.
I'm Dave Neighbor, and I respectfully ask for your vote again.
Political ad paid for by Treasurer Dave Neighbor for Justice of the Peace, Kendall County, Precinct 2.
And welcome to the Boerne Radio Town Hall. Baron Wiley here, broadcasting from the Richter Studio in downtown Boerne. And I welcome back to our studios Mr. Dave Neighbor. He's the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2 here in Kendall County. And I say, welcome back. Remember the first time we met, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
That was a good time.
It was wonderful.
We actually recorded it in a house, as I remember. And you were running for JP.
Yes.
And you won.
I did.
How was your last 3 years, my friend?
It's been very interesting. It's been gratifying. I've really enjoyed it. It's everything I expected and even more.
Are you running again for the same reasons you ran the first time?
Absolutely. That's why. I feel like it's been an opportunity to serve the community, to help uphold law and order, and also to help resolve issues that are in people's lives, lawsuits, truancies, emotional issues. A lot of this stuff comes up, in the course of my duties.
Were there some surprises that came up that you didn't know about? I didn't know I was going to sign up for this? Or was it?
I don't think so.
Good.
I don't think so. Probably one of the more unpleasant duties that we have is death investigations, inquests, as they're called in the legal parlance. And I've done over 55 of these in the last 3 years. And death is never pleasant. But to be able to go and for the satisfaction of relatives who remain, the next of kin, extended family, to be able to provide them with information about why their loved one died, and also to provide the papers that they need to deal with estate issues and all of that. And, and along the way, you're also dealing with their grief. It's almost a pastoral function in that sense.
Well, you're qualified for that because you've got ministry in your background.
I do.
Missionary?
I was an ordained minister, served as a missionary overseas for 8 years. I've pastored, I've started new churches. I've worked a lot with Muslims and all kinds of people of different backgrounds.
You also have military in your background as well. Is that where that also came in?
I started out in life going to the university and realizing I wasn't mature enough to be going to the university at that point. And so I joined the Marine Corps as an enlisted guy and served and got out as a corporal. And after that, returned back to the university, finished up a Bachelor of Science degree, went on. And during my time in the Marine Corps, I'd become a Christian and decided I wanted to switch from political science and languages and switch to biblical studies. So I went on to seminary, graduated from seminary, as did my wife. And it was from there we met a couple of fellows from Yugoslavia and ended up going to Yugoslavia to teach in a theological institute there, as well as to engage in church planting activities.
So volunteer for the military, volunteer for the ministry, and now JP, another volunteer gig.
It is.
In service.
Yeah, it's in service. And, when I first filed to run, I had no idea that JP actually had a salary.
Oh.
And I discovered that later on. So, that's a nice side benefit, but it wasn't a motivator for me at that juncture. I mean, I had retired from the federal government at that point. By God's grace, I won the election and have been able to serve this community. And it's been a real honor. It really has. I get emails, not every day, but I'll get 1 or 2 a month from people thanking me for the service I provided them, whether it be an inquest or a lawsuit or loved ones who've been in jail that were dangerous and I didn't let out of jail on bond, and they thanked me for doing that. So it's been gratifying in many ways.
We're talking with Dave Neighbor. He's running for re-election for Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2. If you want to learn more about Dave, well, keep listening, but go straight to his website, DaveNeighbor.com. It's the name put together, DaveNeighbor.com, and lots of things you can find there. Again, more background stuff, more ways you can get involved. Let's go ahead and get involved. How do we tell people to get involved? What do you want them to find at your website?
Yeah, if you go to my website, you'll find what I'm doing, why I'm running, some of the accomplishments we've had over the last 3 years, And you'll also find ways that you can respond. If you want to donate funds to the campaign, I don't mind telling you that the cost of running a campaign has gotten very expensive. Printing costs have gone up 100% since the last time I ran. But there's also meet and greets. We've got, 12, 14 different meet and greets scheduled. It'll tell you about where they are and how to find out details to go and attend if you're interested. There's also, you can request a sign for your property if you want to advertise to your neighbors that you're voting for me. And just to let people get informed about what a JP does in the community. A lot of people don't ever interface with us because they've never been sued, or haven't sued anybody, or they haven't had anybody in jail, or no one has died. Their kids haven't been truant. These are all areas that we touch on as JPs. But the Justice of the Peace is probably the most common point of contact with the citizenry of the county.
Keep up the great work, Dave Neighbor. Again, I'm proud to know you. A lot of people don't know, well, is he my JP? Where's District 2? Can you kind of give us a virtual map?
There is a map you can look at for details on the county website. You can look that up. But in general, Precinct 2 follows Old San Antonio Road up through Esser, Herf. It cuts a little bit east around the high school and works around Boerne High School, goes up 474 up to the Guadalupe River. Guadalupe River is the northern boundary of it. It goes down 3351 on the eastern boundary and all the way to the Comal, Kendall County border there in Fair Oaks Ranch. So you have Ammon Road and Highway 46. Basically from the Bergheim intersection, westbound is all Precinct 2. When you get over to Herf Road, Legacy Apartments on the east side of the road, that's in Precinct 2. And then the line sort of cuts that off after that. And then there's a little dog leg that goes all the way down to I-10, Industrial Parkway, that area where the office is next door to W&W Tire.
Excellent. Yeah. Representing a lot, but you're having fun while you're doing it too.
I am. I'm having fun, getting to know a lot of people in the county. Sir. You know, when you hang out at the jail and lawsuit courts, but also visiting people about campaigning. It puts you in touch with the needs and the concerns of people in the county, and it's been a tremendous education. There's a lot of things yet to do. County's growing, and that train is coming down the track, and it's going to happen. So it's a matter of county mobilizing, and we don't, as a JP, we don't do policy, we don't do budgets and taxation rates, all those sorts of things. But you see and hear those concerns, and like every other citizen, I'm concerned of how we're going to manage those issues.
You just said earlier that it's been an education. So what have you learned?
I think I've learned that the depth of the problem with drugs in the community, the single largest issue, and I've heard this from the sheriff years ago before I was in office. I found it hard to believe, sort of looking around. But the most common issue, I'd say at least half of the cases I deal with in the jail when I go in to arraign people are narcotics related. They're either consumption or they're dealing, at a minimum in possession. It's a serious issue. And probably the second biggest issue is DWI, driving while intoxicated. A lot of people think that they're sober when they're not. Their judgment is impaired. They get stopped for a minor traffic violation and they're found to be inebriated, and they find themselves in jail. TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, has come out last year with a statistic that for every person, and I don't know how they established this, but for every person who is arrested on a DWI, they've probably been DWI at least 70 times. So it tells you that this is not a one-off in most cases. Now, there are rare exceptions to that, but generally speaking, it's a behavioral pattern that people have established, and they feel like, oh, I'm okay. I had 6 drinks or 8 drinks or whatever it was. And then they find themselves in jail. They find themselves with legal fees, bond fees, ignition interlock devices, having to explain to family and friends. You have 2 of these, 3 of these, you're going to do some time. And you may even lose your driving privileges. Yeah, people need to focus on this more and with each other, encouraging one another to be compliant with the law. The general rule of thumb in Texas law enforcement is a shot of hard liquor or a beer or a glass of wine per hour with food, you're probably under the limit, but a lot of things come into play. Fatigue, body mass size, male versus female, those things all affect, the physiology affects the consumption and the burn rate of getting rid of the alcohol, purging it from the system. My attitude is drink at home. You don't have to worry about it.
A big point of pride for me in Kendall County is how we, Sheriff's Department, Police Department, have led the way when it comes to mental issues.
Yeah.
Talk about that. How much do you see of that as an issue today?
It's a huge issue, and that's something, again, I'd heard the sheriff say when I first moved here, as I got acquainted with Sheriff Al Oxer, was that all the people in jail are there for probable cause, for a violation of a law, crime. But about 70% of them need mental health assistance. I have found in the jail that that's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Most people are in crisis, and that crisis is what brought them many times to committing what crime they did. It's commonly misunderstood that if you have a mental issue, you can get out from any guilt, and no, that's not true in Texas. What the criteria in Texas for mental health to interfere with the process, criminal justice process, is can you participate in your defense? The fact that you may have been distraught does not excuse, a violation of crime. One of the third largest issues I see in magistration, arraigning, inmates in the jailhouse, is that family violence. There spoke with Chief Perez several years back and asked him about family violence just in the Boerne area. And you're talking somewhere between 2 or 3 reports per week of family violence. Not all of them reach the threshold of being prosecutable, but the more probably concerning issue is how many times these incidents happen that are not reported. And this is just, Boerne represents a less than half of the county population. So I suspect that there's a lot more out there, and a lot of it is stress-driven. We saw this spike during the COVID period. What's happened here in Kendall County, there's been a very interesting initiative, I'll call it, between the judges, the district court judges, as well as the JPs, law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and family services under Bryce Bodie, is putting together the Kendall County Behavioral Health Advisory Coalition. And what we've been doing over the last year and a half is trying to go through all our processes and try and figure out a way to make them more effective. As a rural county, which people may not feel like it's rural, but you look across Texas, we're still basically a rural county on the outskirts of a large metropolitan area. We don't have a lot of the resources that the larger counties do. And so a lot of the development in this area is constrained because of lack of funding. And so the county is desperately seeking additional funds, grants from the governor's office, grants that are available through the federal government or through the state government to try and finance some of these positions. For example, we had no one to bird dog or watch over the continuing mental health needs of people in the jail. Well, jail runs on the average somewhere between 85 and 110 people. And you figure 70% of those people statistically are in need of behavioral health assistance, and finding out that they're on a particular drug that helps control their behavior extreme, they may be bipolar or schizophrenic, and making sure that they get those drugs, that they're done in a timely manner, takes somebody to monitor that. Sometimes when people are in jail, they will sort of come apart, if you will, emotionally, and things get worse, not better. And then the lack of proper prescription drugs that they're already on then gets further complicated by their unraveling. And maybe violence in the jail, or an assault, or sexual assault, or some of these things that can go on. And then that gets out into the larger community. One of the things that we'd like to see is a one-stop shop, a place where anybody can go at any time that's not associated with law enforcement per se, but a neutral location where they can go in and seek assistance. For instance, somebody who is bipolar and their meds have timed out, they haven't seen a doctor, maybe their health insurance is not paying for the cost of this, where they can get some cost-free assistance, or at least low-cost assistance to getting their meds reestablished and reinstated. Those are some of the many things that we're involved in. There's also situations where police officers will come across people who are either a threat to themselves, their own self-harm or suicide, or threat to others. They have the ability, the authority under the law, to sign an emergency detention order, which basically puts them in a mental health facility in a lockdown situation for 3 days so they can be observed, and further recommendations made to the court. JPs, Justices of the Peace, can also do that. And one of the things that we do that we're tasked by law is to screen all our inmates in the jail. So when we go in there and do arraignments, we're screening them for mental health issues. And we can not only get mental health issues focused through the point person that's in the jail on the staff who's under a grant right now, but we can also call in family services or the telepsych resource, a psychiatrist, basically in a Zoom call. These are all sort of resources that we can bring to bear to alleviate some of the anxiety and issues that people are facing.
All huge issues, drugs, alcohol, mental issues there. But we live in Boerne, Texas. What a great place to be.
It is. And before I was a JP, I knew in principle that these things, because I'd heard the sheriff talk about it, I've heard others talk about it. But then when you get in there and you start seeing it face to face, I had a man at one point, this is some time back, but he was clearly schizophrenic without any question. He was threatening the life of a man that he was going to kill. And when I interviewed him in the arraignment, I read him his rights, told him the charges against him, and basically put a bond on them that was out of sight, that he couldn't get out of jail. And part of that was triggered in the conversation. He said, "What are you going to do when you get out of jail?" And he said, "I'm going to go kill that fella." Well, do you know him? No. Well, why are you going to kill him? Well, a voice in my head is telling me that he has to die. But the other side of that story is I had requested that he go to a lockdown psychiatric facility until such time that he was well enough to stand trial. And out of some 10,000 beds that are available in the state of Texas, only about a third of them are staffed. So this fella had to wait over a year to find a bed to finally get out of custody and go into this facility to get treatment under lock and key where he couldn't damage anybody. Well, subsequently, I met his mother by chance at a mental health conference, and she was telling me about her son. I said, "Oh, I know your son. I did the arraignment of him." And she said, Thank you for keeping him locked up, because he would have killed somebody." You know, there are not a lot of people like that here in Boerne, but they are here. We have people transient coming through, a lot of people coming in that nobody really knows, and that's not bad. It's a good thing, people immigrating from different places. But it becomes more and more a community where everybody doesn't know everybody, and you have to learn to grow with those changes in societal structure.
We're talking with Dave Neighbor. He's running for re-election for Justice of the Peace in Kendall County for Precinct 2. And Dave, you've just shattered a lot of people's imagination on what you actually have to do. People think, JP, I marry people. Let's go to the JP and get married, right? That is kind of did you marry a few folks?
Yeah, my policy has always been, I'll marry you if you're friend or family.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not the focus of what I'm doing
Right.
in this job.
This is bigger.
But that's certainly a possibility, you know, for, there's some JPs that I've met in other parts of the state who make more money off of the marriage fees than they do off of their salary. That's not what I do. That's not where I'm at. I don't fault them, but it's just not me.
When you signed up to run the first time, you had to get the blessing of your family.
I did.
Honor your family for letting you do this, because thank you for your service.
Yeah, well, you know, I asked my adult children, two of them, a daughter and son, and, you know, does this sound crazy to you? You know, give me a sanity check here. And then with my wife, you know, we talked about it, pros and cons. One of the cons is that because of responsibility for death investigations Monday through Thursday, we're on duty, all four of us in the county, we're on duty for deaths in our respective precincts, 24 hours a day for 4 days a week. On the weekends, we trade off. So 1 weekend a month. Some months have 5 weekends, and we kind of juggle that around so it's evenly spread. But basically for 72 hours from 9 o'clock Friday morning to 9 o'clock Monday morning, we cover the entire county. So basically, you know, if you count 4 times 4 is 16, 19 to 20 days a month, I virtually can't leave the county because I'm on call, either for my precinct or for the entire county. And that's true for all four of us. A lot of people don't realize that. We have laptops at home that we can work from home on a weekend if we need to, or if the weather's bad. It's not onerous, but there is a responsibility. District judges have similar issues. And some of this has become even more complicated because of some new laws that have been passed that require some coordination on magistration issues on the weekends sometimes.
So when that phone rings at midnight, your wife gets woken up as well, and
she reminds me to get dressed and not go in my pajamas. Yeah, yeah, get up, get dressed, and go.
Yeah.
And some of these death scenes are quite unpleasant. Mm-hmm. I have a bin in the back of my truck that has throwaway hazard booties and a suit, and I've had several deaths that were fentanyl related. Which is now in Texas a homicide charge. It's considered a manslaughter kind of a charge if you can find the dealer, where people have passed because they were snorting cocaine that was laced with fentanyl. I just had one a few days ago. You know, it's a biohazard site when you walk in. Yeah, those are just some of the realities of the job that are not terribly pleasant.
But again, thank you to your family for letting you do this as well.
Yeah.
DaveNeighbor.com is the website. Dave, what do you need right now besides prayer?
I need prayer, wisdom. I pray every day for discernment and wisdom, particularly when I'm doing jail stuff, and also lawsuits. But besides that, I need people to vote for me. We have a primary coming up 3rd of March, and I have an opponent, and I'm hoping and praying that I win the election. All too often in off-cycle elections, which in Texas coincides with the governor's election, you get anywhere from 15 to 20% of the electorate actually shows up at the polls. So your vote really counts. It really matters. And it's important that people show up. And I would encourage you to, in all categories, whether you're talking about county judge or commissioner or justice of the peace or any of the other positions that are up for reelection or for election from candidates, take a look at them, talk to them, hear what their positions are, express your concerns, how do they respond to that, and make your decision and vote. Go and vote. The other thing is that the candidates of your choice, they need funds to pay for the campaign. Republican Party does not provide any money. So it comes out of our pocket. Printing costs have gone up since the last election 100%. The costs of running a meet and greet where there's food and beverage available and radio time, press time.
That price hasn't gone up, I want you to know.
No, that price hasn't gone up, thank goodness. But, and releases in the newspaper, all these things add up. And so if you can donate to the candidates of your choice, it's a huge help. And just encourage them. Putting up signs, a yard sign in your yard, helping to volunteer to put up signs, along the major highways and byways in the county. There's a plot of land there between the parking lot and that side street, I think it's Fawn Valley, to have a presence there for your candidate of your choice. Do that. Show up, help, volunteer, because it can be hard work.
Well, it all starts at DaveNeighbor.com, the website. You can learn all about that, how to pick up your sign, how to volunteer, how to support Dave Neighbor in his re-election bid for Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2. Dave, anything else?
No, sir. I want to thank the citizenry of Precinct 2 for voting for me. If you didn't vote for me in the last time, I hope that you'll reconsider, take a look at it, and vote for me this time. It's been an honor to serve the county. It's been an honor to serve the citizens here, to be a source of someone resolving disputes and lawsuits, ensuring that people who need to stay in jail because there are public safety risks stay in jail, those who need to get out, making a way for them, and those who need mental health assistance to get that provided for them. These are all honors that I've had. Truancy hearings. Kids not going to school is not just about that. There's usually stuff going on behind the scenes, emotional issues, family instability, family violence, and trying to work through with all the concerned parties to solve these issues in a way that makes sense and is lawful and is constructive. We're not trying to punish people. We're trying to restore people to being fully functionally healthy mentally and physically to live productive lives. So that's our objective.
DaveNeighbor.com. Dave Neighbor, thank you again for doing a great job as Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2, and we'll see you on Election Day.
Yes, sir. Well.
And thank you for listening to Boerne Radio, 103.9 FM.
Dave Neighbor, Kendall County's Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2.
I'm Dave Neighbor. I'm running for re-election, and I'd be honored to continue serving in that office you elected me to 4 years ago.
Dave Neighbor, what does a Justice of the Peace do?
Here in Kendall County, we have 4 JPs. We serve as magistrates in the jail, judges in the courtroom, and coroners at death scenes.
So what are your duties as a magistrate?
Well, the law requires us to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for alleged crimes, from fine-only misdemeanors to capital murder. We ensure constitutional rights are protected. We set bond amounts and conditions and advise on attorney options. We also conduct mental health screenings, hear bond revocation cases, and issue emergency protective orders to keep victims of violence safe.
Re-elect Dave Neighbor for Justice of the Peace. DaveNeighbor.com.
I'm Dave Neighbor, and I respectfully ask for your vote again.
Political ad paid for by Treasurer Dave Neighbor for Justice of the Peace, Kendall County Precinct 2.